Ah, yes, a nanny. Quite an interesting concept, really. They take care of kids on a daily basis, and they may even live with their employers. Nannies. More than a babysitter, but not quite a parent. It's a very unique lifestyle, and since every person does things in their own special way, it only makes sense that every nanny would do their job in their own special way as well. Now, today we are going to be comparing two different nannies and how they do their jobs. First, we have Fran Fine from the CBS sitcom The Nanny, and we have Jessie Prescott from the Disney Channel sitcom Jessie. Now, Fran is a Jewish girl from Flushing, Queens. Yes, flushing as in flushing the toilet. And in the pilot episode of her show, her boyfriend dumps her and she gets fired from her job at a bridal shop, all in the same day. Then she goes door to door selling makeup and winds up at the front door of the Sheffield family. The sarcastic butler Niles lets Fran into the house, assuming she's there to apply for the nanny position, and Fran just goes with the flow. Then Niles has Fran wait outside while he goes to get Mr. Sheffield, who is having a conversation with his business partner, Cece Babcock, who also happens to have a crush on him. Meanwhile, Fran runs into Mr. Sheffield's outlandish son, Brighton. Then Fran meets Mr. Sheffield and his two daughters, Maggie and Gracie. But Mr. Sheffield decides that Fran isn't qualified enough to take care of his kids. However, he's in a bind and has no other option but to let Fran be his kid's nanny. So that's how Fran got the job. Now we move on to Jessie Prescott. Jessie is a military kid from Texas who moves to New York City in order to pursue her dreams of becoming an actress/singer. However, she gets kicked out of a cab for not having enough money to pay for the service. Then she lands at the front door of a building where she meets Tony the doorman and an 8-year-old girl named Zuri Ross. Then a lady runs out of the building screaming in terror, and Zuri says that that lady was her old nanny, and she asks Jessie if she wants to be her new nanny. But Jessie says she didn't come all the way to New York to become a babysitter, she came to make her dreams come true. And Zuri says, until that happens, I like my grilled cheese cut in triangles and my tutu starched. Then Jessie walks into the Ross family's giant penthouse, where she meets Bertram the lazy butler. Then she meets the other 3 Ross kids, Emma, Ravi, and Luke. Then she meets their parents, Morgan and Christina Ross. Then Christina gives Jessie a screening interview in the kitchen. Then Jessie gets the job. So those are the stories of how Fran and Jessie got their jobs as nannies for rich families in NYC. Side note, is New York City just crawling with nannies? If so, I'm moving to Brooklyn because I'm really good with kids and Brooklyn is my favorite New York City borough. But both of these shows take place in Manhattan though. Anyways, let's see how each nanny does their job. On Fran's first day, she has breakfast with the family, when normally the nanny would have breakfast in the kitchen, away from the family. Then Fran takes the kids out shopping, and while chatting with her best friend Val, she states that the oldest Sheffield child, Maggie, has no personality, the youngest Sheffield child, Gracie, has multiple personalities, and the middle child, Brighton, is just a troublemaker. Then Fran and the kids crash Mr. Sheffield's classy party in new looks that Fran helped them with. And even though he asked them to stay away, their presence actually helped make the party better. Then after the party, Cece Babcock is trying to drink away her frustration because Fran got her way, and Cece really dislikes Fran. Meanwhile, Mr. Sheffield catches Maggie kissing a boy, then he scares the boy out of the house. Then Fran and Mr. Sheffield argue about how Maggie has changed. Fran says it's for the better, but Mr. Sheffield says it's for the worse. Then Mr. Sheffield fires Fran, and she's jobless once again. Mr. Sheffield then admits to Niles that he made a mistake. Then he goes over to Fran's place, and they talk everything out, and Fran ends up becoming the nanny again. Now, on Jessie's first day, she tries to get the kids to eat dinner together as a family, which they never do. But when she goes to get Ravi, who is the newest addition to the family besides Jessie, Jessie is frightened by Ravi's giant Asian water monitor lizard, Mr. Kipling. Then at the dinner table, Ravi and Emma excuse themselves, and Luke, who is the suave ladies' man played by Cameron Boyce, R.I.P., breaks up with Jessie. Now, obviously they were never really dating, he just always had a crush on her. Then Jessie hurts Zuri's feelings by making fun of her imaginary friends, and Zuri starts crying because she's 8 years old. Then later on, Jessie tries to apologize to the kids with the plate full of freshly baked cookies, but Bertram tells her that the kids ran away. Jessie tries looking for them, then Tony tells her that the kids are on the roof playing with their dad's helicopter. Then Jessie gets the kids back into the house, then she makes them do push-ups and yells at them like she's a drill sergeant. But both her and the kids know that she's not being serious and it's all just a joke, and I think that's what causes the kids to forgive her. The next day, Jessie goes back into Ravi's room and gets attacked by Mr. Kipling. Meanwhile, Ravi doesn't notice anything because he's busy playing video games, and he wins using a new strategy that Jessie taught him. Then Jessie helps Emma with her science project, and Emma's parents call in to say that they can't make it on the day of the science fair, even though they promised that they would. This of course disappoints Emma, but she tells Jessie that she's used to it because her parents have missed many milestones in her life. Then Emma leaves because she's too upset. Then Jessie accidentally breaks Emma's science project, and Zuri witnesses the whole thing. Jessie then stays up all night trying to fix Emma's science project, and while the kids are at school, Jessie visits Morgan and Christina on the set of their new movie and tells them about how disappointed Emma is and that they need to start being there for their kids, but this only ends up getting Jessie fired. Then Jessie goes to the science fair and cheers Emma up about her parents not being there. Then Morgan and Christina show up and are thankful for Jessie being in their lives. Then Emma wins the science fair and everybody celebrates with ice cream. Now, I personally think between the two ladies, Fran had it a lot easier than Jessie. Not that Fran didn't have any issues, she did. But Fran had to take care of 3 kids and Jessie had to take care of 4. Plus, for the most part, the Sheffield kids were much easier to handle. They were never really as chaotic as the Ross kids. Also, 3 of the Ross kids are adopted, and 2 of them are originally from other continents, so that just adds a whole new level of difficulty. And in the pilot episode, Fran was in her late 20s, and Jessie was in her late teens. Also, Fran is originally from another borough in New York City, so her immediate family is never too far away. Throughout the series, we always see her parents, her cousins, her friends, even her grandmother. You know, her family's always popping in to say hi and stuff. But Jessie is from the other side of the country, and throughout the show we barely see her immediate family or any friends. Also, Mr. Sheffield was always around the house, so the kids still had a parent figure around, and Fran had help raising these kids. Meanwhile, Morgan and Christina Ross were barely at home, so Jessie was pretty much on her own with these kids, except for when Bertram would occasionally do his job. Now, I've watched both shows from beginning to end, and a lot of things stood out to me about both Fran and Jessie. First of all, they both have messed up love lives, especially Jessie. But for each of them, their primary romances throughout their shows were Mr. Sheffield and Tony the Doorman. I actually like the romance between Jessie and Tony a little bit more because with Fran and Maxwell, they kept teasing us for many seasons if they would get together or not. But Jessie and Tony were very clear about what they wanted, and I respect that. Now, I think Fran is a much more dynamic character than Jessie. Fran is known for her unique speaking voice, her impeccable fashion that stands the test of time, and for being a Jewish icon and a gay icon even though she's straight. But her husband wasn't. Okay, that's a story for another day. But Jessie is still pretty interesting. She's from Texas, she's a military kid, she likes acting and singing, and is apparently very clumsy. Also, I've noticed that both Fran and Jessie face a lot of classism because they both come from lower income families and now they're living with the rich people. So other rich people outside of the family that they're with make fun of them and stuff. But Fran always had a comeback and never let anybody get to her. Especially like Cece would always have something to say about Fran, but Fran always like had a smart comeback and she never let Cece bother her. But Jessie kind of just let people say whatever they want to her and she never did anything about it. She just continued to be a nice person even though everybody was being mean to her all the time. Now, even though each nanny has their own way of doing things, I think both of them must have done something right because as the shows progress and the kids get older, they grow closer to both Fran and Jessie and see each of them as mother figures. And it's understandable because for the Sheffield kids, their mother passed away before the series began, so Fran kind of filled that missing void for them. And for the Ross kids, their mother and father are thankfully still alive and still around, but like they don't come to visit ever. And when they do occasionally drop by, the kids still rely on Jessie for everything because she's always there for them. Overall, I think being a nanny is a very hard job. I'm rethinking my move to Brooklyn. Also, I like the theme song for both of the shows. The Nanny's theme song has this classical jazz sound to it, and the video was done as a cartoon, and there was a whole Christmas episode in the show's third season that is done entirely in that same cartoon style, and I thought it was really, really cool. And the Jessie theme song is a modern pop song with the heavy piano playing throughout most, if not all of the song, and the video has us taking a tour through NYC, which I thought was really cool. Anyways, that is it for today. See you another day. Bye!